Okay, you guys, I think we're ready to start. Everyone is ready to take a seat. Okay, we'll start. Where's James? James here.
James?
We're not ready to start.
Where is he? James here himself. Yeah. My girl. Yeah, I think I did. Okay, we're gonna call to order at 5:34 p.m. Oh yay, James.
What?
You can start recording too.
It has been recording.
Okay. Wow.
James, edit out that first.
I will.
You'll see it. You'll know it. Don't keep it. All right, y'all.
Delete it.
I might keep it, but it won't be in the video.
Real quick, just a reminder, your membership fee is $25. If you can try to get that to me or Natalia as soon as possible. If you need a payment plan, come talk to me. We can schedule a payment plan. It will be all good. Second thing is that if you think you can work Pop Tarts and Coffee Tuesdays, please let me know. We're kind of short on people, and it'd be nice. The schedule will change every week, so you do not have to work every week, but the more people we get, the more likely that's going to happen. So that would be great. And then the ambassador position, I guess today is our floor nominations. So, so today is floor nominations. Next meeting, so not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after is when we'll have our elections. So as long as you've been, you've started paying your membership, you're technically an active member, so you can vote.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't set up a payment plan with Diana by next meeting or like paid your dues, you will not be eligible to vote. So please talk to her about that. We'll have time to do that next meeting as well before we actually hold the election.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess.
Well, that's it. I already called to order. That's not like a thing. It's just, if anyone wants to, no, we're not electing someone to me.
That's true. If you wanna run, come talk to me. The thing is that only second semester students and above can run. So if you're a first semester student, I'm sorry, you can't run. But yeah. And yeah, I think that's good. So we're gonna go ahead and pass it over to Miss Chelsea Bolas. She's the director of the women's choir here at Greenfield High School, and she's gonna talk to us about score study. Yay!
Woo! Thank you. All right. If you do not have copies of these lovely and wonderful things that are up here on the piano, I'm gonna send Natalia with them, and I'm gonna start chatting about life. There's so many. Grab a copy of each one of them. When you get it, what we're looking at is this lovely and wonderful sheet that I definitely spent a lot of time on. That says Score Study 101 at the top, and that is kind of our guide for today. So if you are wanting to take this home with you, this is all stuff, by the way, that you're going to eventually encounter in your classes. It's always good to know as you, even if this is your first semester in college, your first semester as a music education student, so that you can start to look at your own music that you are studying right now, whatever choirs that you're in, for these things, and kind of watch to see what Dr. Golding and or I, depending on what choirs you're in, are sort of doing with our gestural and rehearsal technique aspects of things. Yes. So, it's going to, she's got a stool. So I'm going to sit. I'm going to sit. Is that okay, everybody? All right.
No, can't do that.
It's not okay. I've been standing. It's been a long. It's been a long. All right. Boy. I got stories for you, but not right now. Okay.
I know that choir well enough.
Yeah, you do. All right. So, why do we score study? Why do you think? This is a general question out to the masses. Why is it important to study your score? What do you think, Mr. Michael?
To know, so you know like where to bring different parts in, like what dynamics to give them, like where to cut off, all that stuff.
Yeah, so you can essentially lead your choir, right? And have effective rehearsal. And they conduct a piece. So it goes beyond just the actual performance. Obviously it's important, right, for the actual performance that you've studied your score and you know you can do the things, but how you rehearse informs everything about the way that the piece is going to go once you get to the actual concert. There are a lot of choir directors and a lot of directors in general who do not study score, and I have been known to, right, in my earlier years of teaching, do a lot of last minute prep work where it's, okay, I know that there's this really hard section of the piece, I'm going to spend a lot of time on this really hard section of the piece, but I don't really know why it's hard, and I haven't spent the time to build that with my choirs in such a way that it's built into my warm-ups, and I can maybe teach different elements of that, and where else does it come back in the piece, and what all of that has to do with the piece as a whole. So we just spend a lot of time practicing like these 8 measures, and they mean nothing, and then when we get to performance, it's absolutely falling apart. So studying your score saves you a lot of heartache in the end, and makes your rehearsals a lot more enjoyable, so that your choirs don't hate you, because you're just practicing the same 8 measures over and over and over for no reason. The big things that you are looking at when you study score are going to serve 2 purposes. One is for your gesture, right? What you're doing, how you're like doing the things. Are you like me, and are you always behind the piano until like the very last second because I don't have an accompanist with me in rehearsal all the time, or are you fortunate enough to be able to conduct and do the things? So in women's chorale, I feel very blessed because we get to have Bev here, and Dr. Bolde gets to have Bill and that kind of thing, and we get to actually conduct in front of you, and that's very helpful. But when you actually get into the classroom, when this is a thing, you're probably going to end up behind the piano. So that a limited amount of time that you do have with your gesture in front of your choirs, that's like super important. All the more reason to study score. Some of the things that will come out of your score study for your gesture, things like cues and cut-ups. Polyphonic music is exciting, right? My music is all sorts of marked up when you've got lots of different entrances and fugue themes and all of the different things that are happening, right? Cut-offs are equally as important, but no one pays attention to those, right? Not as many people pay attention to those as they should. Very, very important things. Cues, cut-offs. Cut off, not just cut off, sorry. Anyhow, dynamics, but also dynamic changes. Where are your crescendos? Where are your decrescendos? How are you going to show that with your gesture? Are you able to do the thing where you're like doing all the different things at the same time, right? Your articulation, your tempo, your meter changes, your phrasing, your fermatas, your syncopation, all of these things come from, will benefit your gesture, and they come out of your score study. Beyond that, you've got the actual rehearsal technique aspects, right? So where are your rehearsal numbers in your letters? It seems like a very small thing, but the more that you can say, all right, choir, add letter, I'm not going to say D, add letter C, right? We're starting at letter C, and they know exactly where that is, and you know exactly where you're at. So it's not just that one hard place on page 5, that one thing that's happening. Take them.
Where are they?
They're there.
Can I like slither in without?
I was enjoying. Insert Hubbard's joke. Sure, but we're not gonna. I just.
You might need a bigger swig of that coffee.
I am running low. I'm gonna have to refill in just a second. You guys have group projects that you're gonna do in just a second. All right. So things that are also important to practice, right, during rehearsal. Things that are important to know ahead of time. Where does it modulate? Where does it modulate? How are you going to get through that modulation? What are the harmonic things that are happening underneath that modulation? Or just in general, what are your harmonies that are happening? Articulation. All of this stuff is listed under rehearsal technique, right? Where is this coming from? What is the style period? What are the stylistic things that go into this piece? Your tempos. Again, your meter changes, your phrasing, clefs, any transpositions that are happening. Especially if you're doing this with instrumentation, right? Every winter, you guys will do a master work, right? You'll do that as part of your winter concert. And so if you were to be conducting that, it's important to know, with all the instrumentation that you have, how are things transposing? How are you going to, what do you need to do to make that beneficial for your instrumentalists? All of the balance and the voicing, you may need to, depending on the structure of your choirs. Let's see, my first year of teaching, I had about 1 billion sopranos and altos, 2 tenors, a bass, and that was it. And that was in one choir. So that was like, what do you do, right? How do you restructure the voicing so that that one poor bass, sweet bass, sweet little Adam, sweet Adam. What do you do so that Adam doesn't, yes, bless his heart. What do you do so that Adam does not be drowned out? How can you restructure the piece so that your voicings are all balanced and heard, right? Any structure and form of the piece, the emotional context of the piece, we'll get to that in a little bit, that's a whole other thing. And then any text and translational things that you have. So all of this comes from just looking at your score. So what's the first thing that you do? Go ahead and look at the music of living. You have 2 copies of it in front of you. Go ahead and look at the music of living. This is the all-state piece, the all-state audition piece this year. Oh. Yes, it's very exciting. We have been just loving it. It's just delightful, and let me tell you why. There are triplets all over the place. So right off the bat, right, you're flipping through, if you've sung this before, you know, if you've not, you're looking at what, right when you take in, that's the most salient feature of this piece, are your triplets. And if you're looking at your piano, that's, right, so you see all of the running eighth notes that you have, lots of duple versus triple, all of that that's happening. And that's the first thing that you take in upon first noticing this piece. This is where your coloring comes into play. So you glance through the piece, you've taken it in at first glance, and now what are you going to do so that you can best help your choirs? Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to turn to your colored pencils. How many of you actually have colored pencils today? Yes, it's delightful. I'm so sorry that I did not mention this earlier. I should have done that, but it's been a crazy, crazy day. So if you do not have colored pencils, would you kind of partner up or be nearish to someone who does have colored pencils? If we can be in little groupings, yes. Because you're going to want this. So we're going to go through things one by one, okay? If you see down there it says score study colors, coloring, not just for kids. These are the same things that Dr. Boulding uses, so if you get to the point in your education, when you get to the point in your education where you're taking this with her, you'll already know, you already have it, it's very exciting. The very first thing you're going to do, everyone should have one of these, even if you do not have colored pencils with you, is either get a black colored pencil or just a regular pencil. Do you have pencil? Pencil. Okay, y'all. The first thing you're going to do, you're going to look at the form of this piece. You're going to decide what the form of this piece is. If there are distinct sections to this piece, you're going to take that handy-dandy pencil that you have, and you're actually going to make, right, for yourself, you're going to parcel out where in the score you've got these handy-dandy sections. You're going to draw what amounts to be a big I, right, in front of wherever the section changes. So if you've got a very clear A section, and then that A section ends, right, how exciting, A section's over. This is the B section, and it starts with like a pickup, or like a rest, or something, right? And then you've got B section happening. You're going to label the sections of your piece, and you're going to delineate them with giant black lines. Ready, set, go. Find what works. Find the section, find the sections. You can work together. It's okay. And then we'll talk about it.
Are we allowed to hear the piece?
No. Yes, you can.
Okay.
But if you're expecting me to play that for you on the piano.
Yeah. No, I haven't.
Okay, yeah, it's not happening. So, no.
I'll pull it up.
But it is on the internet. But you can also tell just by looking at it, right? So that you're not listening to it. This is actually really, I'm glad you asked this. Before I listen to the piece ever, right, I have, so that I'm not hearing another choir's interpretation of the piece, I always go through without listening to it, and I bless you, blessings upon you. And I always, right, I always look to see and hear in my head my own unique sound, because my choir, I don't want necessarily my choir to sound like St. Olaf all the time. I don't want necessarily my choir to sound like BYU or anything like that, right? I want my own unique sound that I have. So before I listen to it, it's important to listen to it. But before I listen to it, I actually go through and I do all of this without listening to it. So, do you think you can go through and just based on the texture of what you see, right? Based on the texture of what you see, can you find places where maybe the form change, like what the form of the piece is? Can you tell what the form of the piece is without listening to it? It's not an A. It sort of is. It sort of is.
I'm just saying, I'm word that I can use the A. I wasn't saying this is necessarily.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha. I got what they're saying. I'm picking up what you are putting down.
Yes. So I see. Here, we just have to find. Because then it's A, we have to find where
You can decide what A is. You
yeah.
can make up for yourself.
A.
What?
This first little.
Yeah.
What do you guys think A is? I hear an A discussion happening.
Oh, I don't want to talk about my A.
Okay, all right.
Um,
You're probably not wrong. Just so you know, there's like no right or wrong answers. It's okay. It's not like you fail.
A for me is, there's kind of like the little from 7 to 10, but at 10 I feel like that's where A really starts, up until 18.
Okay.
We
An
have
interesting interpretation.
Another A,
Another A.
like the, like A prime.
The return of the A.
The return of the A, not exactly the same, but generally A. I like 42.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this one actually is exactly the same. So if that's A, I'm here for that being A. So did you guys pick up what she's putting down?
Yeah.
Right, so at the beginning, all the way through that. Giver of life, creator of light is lovely. Teach me to sing the words to your song. That's A. And then A comes back, right? Pick up to measure 40, right? So pick up to page 7, the giver comes back, right? There he is. He is back. And it's exactly the same. You sing through it in your head, right? You sing the soprano part. Giver of life. All the same. Exactly the same. Yeah? Teach me to different texts, but same melodic structure.
Oh.
Right? Same melodic structure.
And we come back again at 73? Yes.
But is that one exactly the same?
No.
No, what's different?
I have no idea.
You're just like, I know it's not the same because she asked me if it was, and so I know it can't be.
No,
What's different?
I was looking at it, but I can't really.
Different rhythmically where?
Oh,
Yeah, different in 79, right? Which has been catching everybody because you've been singing quarter note and lots of things, and then it's half notes, and they're like, oh! And Maddie had a really hard time with that today. Anyway, because I had the alto sectional. She got it every time. She was like, oh! And she circled it. She has like 18 circles in her music. It's great. All right, so it's a little bit different rhythmically, right? Important to note, right? So that you can guide. This is one of those things, right? So if you're looking at form, you're like, this is a little bit different. This was what comes out of score study. So you know ahead of time, and you can already circumvent them and say, hey, look at the thing, right? And then of course it ends differently, right? So after your half notes, then you've got the ending, which is not A at all.
Yeah.
So what about your B sections? Sections, question mark. Is there more than one B section, or does B only happen once? I mean, yeah, theoretically if B follows A, where do you think in B is happening? Is this 21, 21?
Yeah.
Through what? That is a great question, isn't it?
39.
Yeah? Maybe.
I think it's going to be like, it's not, the B's, like, what would theoretically be the following pattern.
Yeah?
It doesn't really necessarily match, so I don't really think it's A,
You may be right. It may not be A, B, A, B, A.
I think it's A, B, A, like C.
C? What makes you say that? So if B is theoretically like Destiny was saying, right? B starts right after the first A. Remember the first A ends at 17, right? And then I want to feel the music of living. I want to feel the G's that I'm not going to sing right now. All of that, right? All the way through. And not fear the sad songs, but from them make new songs, composed of full of laughter and tears. End of B. So then you've got A. Okay. A happens again. Where would C start? Where would C start? 51, which is what? I want to move in rhythm with your blood, right? And then it totally changes. So before where that was homorythmic, now it is not, okay? So sopranos and altos start, and then tenors and basses come in. So it's not exactly the same. It's not B, right? It's different as you're going through. And then where does A come back again? 73, you got it. So this little like doodly-doo, this little thing over here, this is on the bar line, okay? So at the end of whatever measure, when I'm saying like, okay, the first A ends at 17, right? I draw this between 17 and 18. So this is measure 17, and this is measure 18. So that I know in my head, okay, this is different. This is going to be different. How I conduct this is different. How I rehearse this is different. And it's a good place to start your rehearsals because you can show, all right, you teach A, right? Now where does A come back? A comes back in this place, and A comes back here, but it's a little bit different. You have B and you C, then you can do, right? So so you have them sing it, and then you go through and you're like, you already know this, sing it again, it's just in a new place, right? That's your form. So this can all be done with pencil, it's good things. Pencil's also very good for any like breath marks that you want for your students, any sort of extra things that you are needing to do on the cuff or during rehearsal, notes to yourself. Pencils are good to have all the time. I always have pencil with me. If we move ahead past the form, okay, we need a red colored pencil, or to be near somebody who has a red colored pencil. So orange is going to be its own thing, so don't use orange. But pink would also work. If you wanted to do pink, that would be fine. If that floats your boat. Cool. All right, friends. You are going to take your red handy dandy pencil that you have, or marker or whatever. I do pencils because they don't bleed through, but it's up to you. You do what you need to do. You're going to find every forte dynamic, forte, fortissimo, fortissimo, whatever, right? And you are going to do a little scribbly on top of it or circle it. I usually will like shade over it, like do a little circle around it and then like fill it in so that my eyes, when I'm scanning through, I can quickly see the little red circles and know this is loud where it wasn't loud before, as well as your crescendos, what those are marked. You're going to literally draw over them. It's like coloring, It's literally what you're doing. Does this make sense?
I think I answered my own question. I was gonna
What was
ask about sports
Sforzando?
Yeah.
That would not be.
Oh.
That would not be. I will get to that. Do not, no, not with Sforzandos.
You're not touching.
Sforzandos are very special.
Are they?
They are very special.
Incredible.
Yes.
Crescendo.
Crescendos as well. Any fortes? Fortissimos, you got a lot of those right off the bat, right? They start with a fortissimo. That's not super easy, right? Same. Get some coffee while you're listening. You're so old. I don't want to hear it. I literally don't want to hear it.
Chelsea, you don't get to say that.
Listen, Linda.
Oh, okay. There's also.
Listen to me.
Oh my God. You have to it's something. Stars.
Where is this? Oh my God, yeah, I'm on it.
You're on it. Oh, we're just saying.
You guys can also, since you're smart college students, you can use your handy dandy code that's on the front of the sheet. If you want to do the same thing for your soft dynamics, right, those are blue. So if you want to, when you get done with your reds, if you want to take a blue, it can be light blue, dark blue, whatever floats your boat. Anything that is piano or pianissimo or a decrescendo, you can also color code those.
You guys, well, when he does all the loud dynamics, when we do the
Yeah, that's true. Let's do that here. And you want the quiet one?
I really like quiet.
You're like, I'm so glad, because otherwise you'd be going into a really weird field.
I really don't like quiet after all. You know me.
We can tell.
It's true, I do know you. And your comrades, who also don't want to buy it, especially today. It's fine.
Oh, I'm proud of them.
I think that's
While you guys are doing this, why do you think it's important to mark and have different colors, like for different dynamic-y type things? What do you think, Evan? I love hands, I'm so here for it.
Cool.
I'm just kidding, you can totally shout things out, it's okay too. Go
Alright.
ahead.
Because if you use one color for everything, you might just not be able to like remember. Yeah, or just like whenever you're like in rehearsal,
Yeah,
you might just confuse it for something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have time to be like, let me look very closely at this crescendo to see exactly where it is.
Or let me just look at this circle to see if it's a crescendo.
right, because if you
Or
circle
no.
everything.
You can just like look and be like, that's it.
Destiny, where is that similar to what you were going to say?
Yeah, it's just kind of like if you're reading a book or something, you
Yeah.
highlight every sentence.
Right.
All the sentences are not.
It's exactly like that. Like if you're reading a text, when I was in college, I was taking an astronomy class, and I found myself like highlighting
Fit right now.
all of the things, and I had to stop and say, is this really important? It's a thing. Same thing here.
110. 110 G.
Same thing here. Is this really important? What is important?
Intro to astronomy.
Once you are finished with your handy dandy red and blue pencils, you can grab a brown pencil. Be careful with the brown because it is darker in color, right? So if you color too darkly with the brown pencil, you won't be able to see it. But if you have any mezzo fortes or mezzo pianos, anything that is medium, that would be what you would circle that with. And there is one right on measure 21. Now here's an important question as you're doing the things, okay? Do you just do dynamics and tempo things and whatever else in the vocal line, or do you do it for all things?
All time.
For all things. Why is it important to do it for all things, Pablo? Tell me about it.
Because your piano part is just as important as your vocal part. So, I mean, it's,
If not more so,
Yeah.
let's be honest. If the piano is drowning you out all the time because you've not taken the time to know when the piano needs to be less, it doesn't matter how good your choir is never be heard, right?
piano's just
The piano's just like,
that'd be
we don't want that. We don't want that.
It's like Chopin, it's just like screaming and dissonant, it's like, oh, is there?
Screaming at you.
choir.
Is this a choir? Or is this a band? We can't tell.
They're the same. No,
They are
Is
less.
it on fire or?
If you kind of keep loud enough, it's a percussion instrument.
Do not
It's good
ever.
stuff. So
So
exciting.
percussion.
Are you guys going to be there on, I mean, I guess if you're singing in choir, then yes, you're going to be there on Friday, right?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
here for Friday?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Are you going to be here for like most of the day, or
All
only here when
day.
you do your
All
day?
day.
You guys are here all day. What is your role on Friday? What are you doing? Besides singing?
Running.
You don't know, you're running around and doing things?
Yeah, we'll probably be singing.
Yeah.
You're singing with the kids.
It's
I
on this part.
And doing like admin and stuff.
I'm so.
love that. Here for that.
So fun.
Look, see, now you already know all the things because you will have gone through and highlighted your very own score. And then you can take it and you can just use it. It works. Wow, I was so smart.
They're gonna be like, why is your score colored? I'm gonna learn that.
Let me tell you.
I like the color, okay?
Welcome to music education.
What color do you think? About the Chelsea colors, we're cutting out.
Okay, so the forte, I can now tell you, now that we've done all the things. Your forte pianos or your sforzandos, right? Those, you have two options. Are you ready? Here's your two. One option is to do like a half and half. So you do your, because you have to go soft, or you have to go loud first, right? So it's like a nah. So you can do a blue red, or you can do purple. Because if you, did you get it? If you're using purple for your brown, then that's okay. But, so that is what I'll do, like if there is a special extra thing that only appears a couple of times, I use purple for that. I will also bring, sometimes, usually not, but sometimes I will bring a purple pencil or a highlighter with me to rehearsal if there are things that I notice that I like and need to do, right now highlight those. So purple is my sforzando color.
I'm getting
Purple. It's the purple. Because it's a mixture of blue and red.
Stop.
Don't do this to me.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready and you've finished with your lovely dynamics. Okay, we're not ready. Okay, all right. Give you more time. It's okay. Sorry, no. You don't have to speed. It's okay. Score study takes time. It's okay. Feel free. Take all the time you need. When everybody's done, we'll talk about the next stuff. There's a lot to it, which is important. And as you guys are preparing your own kids for All-State, right, there is much that goes into dynamic things. If they can sing with dynamic expression, they're in. Okay? Dynamics are important.
Is it brown? Yeah.
What did it cost?
What cost?
Can I borrow your brown?
Take one. No, I mean, whatever.
Oh, we all need purple? De nada.
Are you okay? I just see you looking at the cantate domino and your eyes went. over the top of it. It was really funny.
Because my brain just couldn't process
Your brain can't
that
process
It was
the
not.
quarter
It's okay.
equals half no.
Yeah, I know. It's magic. So what that's saying is, you know what that's saying, right?
I
Like,
know.
You keep the same.
Yeah, but like at the moment,
But
it's
turn.
like
Right.
Certain way, very happy about that.
For those of you who are ready to do so, okay, we're going to talk about this one. You guys can add these in, but you do not need to do so now. We're just going to talk about it. And the reason that it is a bright color is because it's important to note. Orange is for your articulations. So any like, and these are cue things. So if you have like staccatos, if you have, for this, they have a lot of TV shows, right, that are underneath things. So if you have those need to be in orange, that your eyes go to them immediately, right? So you see them, you don't miss them. So that is an orange thing. You can do that now, you can do that later, that's okay. Similarly, another big important thing that if you miss would be bad are tempo changes, which is why those are listed as yellow. Okay. And you don't have any repeat signs in this piece, so there won't be any green, but green is for repeat signs. If you have to go back, green them up. Yeah.
I will wait for purple and
It's very confusing unless you give me a different version.
Are you almost done with purple?
Yeah, you want to point it?
Yeah, I need to.
I'll point it.
A purpose?
I'll probably do it.
Yes.
So you said that we mark tempo markings in yellow.
Yeah.
Would this also apply to the note at the bottom of measure 59?
Your triplets? The
The-
triplet things?
Yeah, the field groupings of these.
Field groupings up to even though triplets remain steady. I would. Because that's important to note, especially because kids will miss it, because they happen. But yeah, anything like that that you need to have quick and ready access to, this is all for you. So again, there's no right or wrong answers. If you feel like that, I need to know that, and I'm gonna need to look at that a lot, then put it in yellow. Or, if you feel like that's just a pencil thing, then you can pencil. Or, if you don't wanna look at it at all, then don't look at it at all.
Yellow?
But I would put it in yellow, or put a pencil around it, or something instead of pencil. And for this, a lot of your like rhythmic stuff or your, I mean, it's not really an articulation, but I would do something so that you know where those triplets are happening. I mean, they're already pretty visible, but you can definitely, that would definitely be an orange thing for me. I would definitely make that orange.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions about things as you're looking at it? Anything that doesn't make sense? It's beautiful. Elijah, that's my aesthetic. That's wonderful. Yes, well done. Well done.
Is that why
You're welcome.
Are you still walking, you just have pencil over here?
That's
I
all.
remember that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I still do. I keep pencils. That's where I usually keep them. I have a pencil here and it's flat.
I used to have this really bad habit of putting them all like right here.
Yeah.
And I would like just have like 40 pens in my hairband sort of thing. So
It's
I
a
had to stop
Anyone
doing
even
that.
pointed out with
No.
hairstyle?
It was kind of something people like used to do. They'd just be like, hey, can you borrow a pencil?
What is your thing? What is your time signature at the beginning of this piece?
Time.
Where does it change?
It changes at section. It changes a lot.
Yellow?
There's one at 42.
I would yellow, or yes, I would
I was
yellow.
gonna say she should be yellow.
Cool.
She should be yellow. There's one at 11, right? Creator of all. It's not really a tempo change, but it is a change that you should note, right? Your tempo will stay the same. You're not going faster or slower, but you are changing how many beats are in that measure.
Yeah.
Oh, what is it called?
Yellow.
Red.
Yes. Anytime that happens, so you know what's going on.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a word.
Another one at 14.
It's father.
Mole. Mole. I like mole.
Three against two.
Hemio. There we go. There's my favorite.
There it is.
Same difference.
Okay, so you've colored, right? Or you're in the process of coloring.
I'm trying.
Things that we can think about as we're coloring, just for the sake of time for us right now, but in the future, right? As you're doing this on your own, because it's a solitary activity usually, of course, that you do this by yourself, right? You go through, you can do all your coloring, you can look at all the things, but you've got bigger questions that you need to answer, right? There's text to this, it's English, which is great for us because we don't have to translate anything or write any translations, which is cool. So you already know right off the bat, but you need to figure out, does the composer of this piece, this hand-dandy old white guy, does he use any text painting? Does he stress the words? The answer to that one is yes, because he's got two noodles under some of the word stress things, right? Yes? Okay. So how does he do that? Why does he do that? How is this text set? What does this text mean? This is that emotional context, right? You have to be aware, this does have religious context, it's in English. So instead of it being a Latin piece that would be maybe religious in context, where your kids won't necessarily connect to it that way, you will have kids who will connect to this way. You will have kids who won't connect to this way. And how do you teach that? Do you talk about that or do you not? How do you move through what you need to get those kids to connect to it, that want to connect to it, but not also? Religion is a very thing. It's a very thing. Let me just put it that way. It's a very thing in our classroom. Something to think about. In my handbook and a lot of handbooks, you'll see like a statement, and it's actually on the NAFNE website, that says that we will teach things because it's part of music education, right? That have religious in context, but we don't ask that people necessarily believe that necessarily. It's a good thing to have, but you are going to have kids that do want to emote to this. How do you give them the space to emote and connect and do things? What are his important syllables as you're looking at it? Syllables. Syllables. Ew. No. Never.
God, syllabus day.
Based on how he has set the music, what are his important word stressy things? You, okay.
Give.
Life.
Song goes
Give.
on the word song.
Song.
Feel.
Okay. Feel. I want to feel. Longer on the feel, yeah.
Every time
That's
the word
legitimate.
music comes out, it's, or a lot, at least on, was it, or on measures 22 and measures 26. Every time the word music on those two measures comes out, it's in a triplet.
Yeah. Interesting to know. So is that an example of text painting? Or is that an example of word stress? Or both? Or neither? There's no right or wrong answer. I think it's interesting for me, something that I noticed in measure 25, right? Well, first and foremost, right? That we have two sentences that are the same, back to back. You have two musical ideas if you're looking at measure 21. I want to, but the first one is mezzo piano and it has no specific designated stress things, right? I want to feel the music of living. Except for there. So living's important at that time. But then the second time he throws it up in everyone's octave, so it's screamy, loud, right? It's fortissimo, and then you do have stress over all of those things. I want to feel all of it. I want to feel the music of living. Yes? I think it's interesting. Very interesting. He really wants to feel the music of living. That's his
You
goal.
don't feel the music.
That's his goal. That's what he wants you to feel. Right? New songs. But from them make new songs. Lots and lots that you can get from this. It's religious in context, but it never actually says God. Did you notice that? You're looking through the things. It's capitalized and stuff, but it never actually says God. So that could be a way that you handle. It's too beautiful. It's too wonderful. How many of you have actually heard this song before? Yeah? Okay, cool. Good thing. So we'll listen to it in just a second. So we won't have the answer to this today because this would be something that you'd have to go and look up, right? But historical significance, right? This is not Bach, this is not Beethoven, this is not, this is, but what was happening, when was this composed? What was happening at the time in Dan Forrest's life when this was composed? Did that influence, or did it not? Is there any information that's available? But that is something to look at, especially as you're looking into older music. What was the historical significance of the piece? And how did that impact how it was composed? What impact did the piece have overall in history, that kind of thing? It's important. Not only for that, but for stylistic articulations. So, it's not Baroque, we're not dropping any dots, we're not doing any of those things. But if you do have a Baroque piece, right, you can drop the dot, you're looking through and you're adding in those stylistic articulations. This is pretty modern as far as that goes. If you look above the text, above the title on the first page, it says commissioned for the Cypress Woods High School Varsity Mixed Choir performance at the 2011 Texas Music Educators Association Convention.
Wow.
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 So it was performed for the first time in 2011. So what was happening in the world in 2011?
Wasn't everyone scared that 2012 was going to kill us all? Isn't that a thing?
Every time a new year rolls around, everyone's scared that New Year's gonna kill us.
2020 is going to end us all. 2020 is.
You're living in a world post 9/11 at this point. So this composition is post 9/11. Okay, that's a big deal.
Yes.
This composition is composed during a time of war, like we are. I mean, it was, it still is.
Yeah.
Does that influence this performance? Or does it not? Is it just something to know? These are things you can think about. Do we have thoughts and feelings about that or not so much yet? It's okay if you do. It's okay if you don't. Cool beans. Say again? Yeah, you guys were all like, what? Babies? Babies.
I was 11.
You were 11?
I was
I was 13.
Oh, that's fine. I was in college. You guys were
I don't know what a choir was, honestly.
I was
I didn't know what a choir was for 2 years, so.
I was 13.
I think I just started
Yeah.
high school.
I was a freshman in high school.
Look at you.
We're talking about the same age. I was in middle school.
Do you guys want to listen to this? Do you want to hear what it sounds like?
Yeah.
Let's
You were in.
middle school.
I meant to bring, lots of things were meant to happen today.
I thought we were in middle school 2 years.
Does she
We'll talk about
have
it. It's fine.
the speaker with her? Or does she?
There's a speaker over there.
There's a speaker over here? If I get a computer or if we have a
I
phone,
do.
can we like hook up and do the things? Okay.
But they have a system.
There's a,
I
They have
had
a built-in system.
You have it pulled up on your phone?
okay, I
Do you want
got
to plug it in? Because I can look for it on mine. Or you can do it on yours. It's up to you. So now that you've gone through and you've listened for all the things and you know what to expect, now you can listen to it. You can listen to a really good recording of it. I'm going to do the recording of it, probably from TV. Ooh, there you go. Is that the one? Yeah. I approve. There are many good recordings of it. Let's find one of them.
Oh, no, mine doesn't have that type of,
Fail.
on my phone, right? Mine does not have her.
What time is
Your
it?
phone has this? No, huh?
No.
Anybody?
Mine does.
Mine does, mine does.
Yeah.
And you'll have
We need an adapter for this room. Just leave it in there.
Nah, someone will take it.
Like you.
If you took the quarter-inch.
What if you locked the cabinet? Is there a key?
Not that I know of.
It's fine.
From the
That's
company.
good, good. Thank you. Awesome.
I mean, someone took the quarter-inch adapter.
Because we only need like a couple minutes for that.
I just, I love
You know.
writing with.
Yeah, somebody's like,
Yeah. If we don't have time, it's fine.
yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, that's just excuse me. Hairspray is the best musical version of all.
Love Hairspray.
yeah, it's debatable.
There
Hairspray or lemon?
Oh, I have to do.
we go. fondo, which is gonna be what color?
Yellow.
Yellow, okay. And then you can decide what will probably happen if you're slowing down there, right? You've been in 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Give off. But then you get here, you may wanna, like, and this would, you would note as either a yellow, you could do a yellow, you could do an orange, you could do whatever floats your boat, but to do this in 4, right? So you get to this. Teach me to sing the words, and then you can come out of pattern, right? You can, and you have the flexibility to do all the things in the world, but that you're gonna change your conducting pattern there on the last page. So indicating that somehow in your score studies that you know, and the kids know that you're teaching what it is that you're doing. It's still playing. It's just casually just continuing. Yeah, it's amazing things, amazing, wonderful things. I've given you another piece, because I did not know how long it would take for us to go through one, called Cantate Domino. Both of these, if you guys are doing high school choir type things, or if you've got a super like happy, excited, advanced middle school choir, are accessible pieces for the future, so you can have them. Congratulations, you're welcome. Cantate Domino is a wonderful SSA piece. And it is different, it's a different style. So in juxtaposition with this more modern-y English piece written by a guy who's in his 40s and lives in New York, you've got not English, right? Not accompanied, not modern, some Latin happening that we could sit together and analyze. So what I was going to have you do was to do that. But we've only got like 5 minutes. So you can take it home. You can use your score study cheat sheet, because I know we're all big score studiers in here. And we're all going to study our score like 18 hours every day. But you can go home and you can mark up your scores and you can talk together and you can work through it together. That one has lots of different cue things. It's got lots of different entrances and rhythmic changes, and it's wonderful and brilliant and good things. That's score study in a nutshell. Other questions, comments, concerns? Sir?
When you score study,
Yeah.
you ever put in write out the chords?
Like doing a harmonic analysis?
Yeah.
I hate harmonic analysis. No, I usually do not. I will note if a harmonic thing, like I'll look at it, right, and I'll figure it out and figure out what it is, but I don't necessarily sit there and analyze every chord. What I will do is if something is different, right, if something is weird and there's like a chord that doesn't seem to fit, or if something is changing, if I'm doing more of a jazzy piece and there's like accidentals all up the crazy thing, I will circle it. I don't know what that is. And what I need to do for my own personal, like, helping my choir to navigate that chord. But aside from that, I don't go and sit through and go, this is a 1 chord, this is a 5 chord, this is a 5/7 chord. No, I don't. I usually don't. Not usually.
I just don't feel like that's practical, because most high schoolers aren't gonna really, or middle schoolers for that matter, aren't gonna really care about it. Like, this is the 5. This is an applied dominant. They're gonna be like,
I mean, yeah, well, and it's cool. You can teach them that through ear training, so you can teach them all the cool things, and you can teach them all self-finish for that. But that's for your sake, unless there's something that you need to know.
Yeah.
I usually
I like to mark cadences on my music just because it's nice you can hear the voice. But other than that,
Where you flexible.
I'm sorry. A mess. We love you. A mess.
We love you, I do.
It's good things. You guys are just, I'm just so excited that you're going to go out into the world and you're going to study your score, and it's going to be magical.
Are you really excited that I'm
I really am. Like, I'm very passionate about the future of music education. I'm looking at the future of music education in this room.
That's
And it looks really tired, but you guys can do it. I promise. No, it's gonna be good things. If you ever need anything score study wise, obviously Dr. Woolding, a fabulous human to chat with. But if you ever want to chat, I'm a very big nerd and I love to talk score study. So like we can go get a coffee and just analyze all the scores. I'm super here for it. Like anytime. You guys are fabulous humans.
nice.
Yeah, except for Chris. No,
Ow.
we'll just go to we'll go to Mom's. We won't go to Starbucks. We won't.
We support our local coffee shop.
We support
Or
our local
Beck's
coffee
Cafe.
shop.
Beck's Cafe.
We don't know where it came from, but
Oh, okay. Thanks, Starbucks.
It's just not
That's
the-
good. You guys are wonderful. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.